mid-90s, the Batman franchise was one of Warner Bros.' most popular and lucrative series. During production of 1997's Batman and Robin, confident that the film would be a hit, the studio was eager to get the ball rolling on another sequel. However, the critical panning and fan backlash of Batman and Robin halted any plans for a sequel. This is the story of Batman Triumphant. As I mentioned before, Warner Bros. Was impressed enough by the dailies of Batman and Robin that they went into pre-production on a fifth film in the Burton-Schumacher Batman series before the fourth film was even released. Allegedly, there was even a script, a first draft penned by Batman and Robin writer Akiva Goldsmith. There is some debate regarding the title. Most sources I've heard say the film was going to be called Batman Triumphant. Some say it was Batman Unchained. I'm going to refer to it as the former, mainly just because I like that title better. Oh, and that funky Batman logo I had in the opening, that was apparently a logo that was being considered for the film. Speaking of which, I should probably preface this by saying that none of these stories have been officially confirmed or substantiated. Plus, films often change dramatically after pre-production, so even if all the rumors were 100% true, there's no guarantee what the final product would have looked like. Joel Schumacher was tapped to direct again, with George Clooney, Chris O'Donnell, and Alicia Silverstone set to reprise their roles as the Triumphant Trio. Schumacher himself expressed a desire to darken up the series after Batman and Robin and Batman Forever went for a lighter and campier tone. The plot would have involved the trio patrolling the streets of Gotham City. Obviously, what else? But their partnership would have been challenged by the arrival of new villains who would force Bruce Wayne to not only face some of his darkest fears, but also face some demons from his past come back to haunt him. Many villains were rumored to appear, but the two that seemed to have been mentioned the most were the Scarecrow and Harley Quinn. The Scarecrow would have been more or less a fairly straightforward adaptation of his comic book counterpart. He's a corrupt psychiatrist who uses a fear toxin gas to give his enemies violent hallucinations. Nobody was officially cast, though a few were considered. Apparently Schumacher's first choice was Nicolas Cage. Okay, Nick Cage is a Batman villain? Seriously, that needs to happen. Others rumored for the role included Jeff Goldblum, who would have been an interesting choice, Howard Stern, who would have been a less interesting choice, and by less interesting I mean awful. There's even a rumor that Coolio was considered for the Scarecrow. That I find a little hard to believe, though. I mean, was that supposed to be him in Batman and Robin? Yeah, you remember that, right? He had a cameo in Batman and Robin. He played that gangster who had a coat made out of shoes. Because, yeah, that was something that happened. As for Harley Quinn, well, this is where things get weird. This version of the character wouldn't have been Joker's girlfriend or partner, but rather his daughter seeking revenge for her father's death. Oh, and they wanted Madonna to play her. Yeah. You know, I wouldn't really consider myself any kind of source material purist. I'm all for filmmakers experimenting, taking chances, making changes where they see fit if it benefits the story. But to jettison such a crucial aspect of the character? I can only imagine what the fan backlash from that would have been. One interesting thing about the film, though, is that it would have made a real effort to bridge the loose continuity between the Tim Burton and Joel Schumacher films. There would have been more overt references to the first two films, including a possible cameo from Jack Nicholson as the Joker, brought on as a hallucination from Scarecrow's fear toxin. Okay, that would have been cool. So what happened? Well, as I mentioned before, Batman and Robin happened.
What killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age!
While the film still managed to turn a profit for Warner Bros., the diminishing box office returns and fan backlash ultimately led to the studio nixing any plans for a fifth film. For years, Warner Bros. Did consider new directions for the property, including an adaptation of Frank Miller's Batman Year One, a live-action Batman Beyond movie, I think Darren Aronofsky had a pitch in there once, and a Batman vs. Superman film was considered as well, back when that sounded like a good idea. Of course, in 2005, Batman would return to the silver screen with Christopher Nolan's Batman Begins, the first in the iconic Dark Knight trilogy. Still, I can't help but wonder what Batman Triumphant would have been like. Would the movie have been any good? Honestly, hard to say. Warner Bros. Clearly put profit as a priority over making an actual good film. That, in and of itself, isn't necessarily an automatic deal breaker. That probably happens more often than not. But even Chris O'Donnell said that Batman and Robin felt like less a movie and more of a toy commercial. I actually do think that Joel Schumacher gets a bit of a bad rap. Don't get me wrong, Batman and Robin was pretty bad all things considered, but it seems like the studio is more to blame for that than Schumacher. I mean, he has made good films in the past. The Lost Boys, Flatliners, Phone Booth, 8mm. Well, I liked 8mm, and I still think he could have made a legitimately good Batman movie if given another shot. Yes, Harley as Joker's daughter was a terrible idea, but a plot involving Bruce Wayne facing his fears and his past coming back to haunt him worked pretty well for the Dark Knight trilogy, so the potential was there. So yeah, the movie could have gone either way, but if I could visit the alternate reality where the film was actually made, I would check it out if for no other reason than just sheer curiosity. And so ends the not-so-triumphant tale for Batman Triumphant, the Batman sequel that never was.